Hey guys, good morning. It is June 15th. Getting a little bit of a late start today, but just want to do our pre-market analysis. I don't think it'll take long today. Not a tremendous amount to report, although yesterday was a fun day. I had a pretty good trading day yesterday, so I'm happy about that. Um, so just a couple things real quick. I had this pre-market trade on here. Kind of set this up when I woke up this morning. I think the market was kind of just about here. It was like 5:30 this morning, and I had this level identified, and I put an order in to try to catch this at 42.45.50, and this wick came down to 42.45.75. Missed my order by a tick. I think I was in the shower at the time, and that worked out beautifully. So that's always frustrating when that happens. I'm going to take that off there, and I consider this level to be sort of done and over with now. So what are we looking at now? Well, there's a couple levels that I think could still be interesting for today that we might get some reactions from if you are an intraday trader and just looking for some quick scalps. So this level here, 42.40. We blasted through this level, and a lot of times when that happens, if we come back and retest it from the top side, a lot of times we'll get a little bit of a reaction there. And then there was this other one here. Now this, when I was watching this on a 1 minute chart yesterday at the end of the day, we did get a small reaction here, and that's a little bit of what this wick is that came down. So price kind of came up and then came down. And let's see if we can see that more clearly on the 1 minute. So I don't know if we'll get another reaction there at all. I actually had an order sitting there. That was the first order I put in yesterday morning, and it was kind of sitting there all day. I thought price would come back up to it. We could see we kind of made our way back up and then never touched it. So I left it in. I finished up my trading around 10:30, 11, ended the day with some nice gains. And so at that point, I just canceled the order. But I was just going for a 1 point scalp there, just based on my analysis of the resistance zone. And we got like a nice little, we got this little pullback that happened there. So that trade actually would have worked out if I left it. But I just didn't want to, it was all, I mean, it would have hit at the very end of the day too, which to me is always a little bit dicey. So I don't regret canceling that at all. This purple line is the previous all-time high. Not this one here, because this one was like it probed it and rejected. So this was like the previous high from, like weeks ago, or is it previous, I'm sorry, not the previous high, but this was sort of a resistance level that we rejected from, over here, and then kind of found some support. And yeah, I don't know really what I'm going to do with that right now. I think I might just take that off. So let's just take a look at the big picture. We'll kind of start out wide and zoom our way in. Again, I apologize for all the arrows here. I use my trading view for paper trading. So I don't really know how to not have those arrows on there. Those are just areas where I took paper trades. I do my live trading in my TD Ameritrade account, but I find that for intraday, their paper trading data is a little bit choppy, and I don't like it. You can paper trade with them. It's fine for swing trading or long-term trading, but for intraday, if you're scalping, the data lags a little bit for some reason, especially with futures. It's worse with futures than with equities. So I prefer to use TradingView to paper trade my futures. So just looking at this sort of big picture, again, this kind of yellowy whitish channel was like our really big top there that we were just kind of bouncing around, and I left it there because it was acting as support as well. But I'm not sure how relevant this level is anymore. I think I'm going to take that off because we are up now. We are looking pretty bullish. So yeah, what do we got? What do we got? Let's see. We had this low to high. We finally kind of breached it, making this, we'll move this up. So this kind of came, this is my 8-hour chart. So this kind of came like this. We made some highs here. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Too many drawings on this chart right now. There we go. So it kind of matched, that sort of matched with, again, we got rejected from that high there. So we got these two channels or these two levels sort of overlapping. I'm going to get rid of that one just because we don't necessarily need it anymore. And sometimes I try to clear these drawings off before I start my analysis, but I was a little bit late to my desk today. So, okay, so this is kind of what we got. That's the sort of 8-hour swing from the low to the high. And then we sort of were just hovering underneath that for a long time, probed it, rejected. Now we're finally holding above it. So now we're starting to look like we have some relevant stuff to work with. Um, you can see a little bit more clearly there. Maybe you can say this is still working on a high. That wouldn't necessarily be a bad way to look at this as well. Somehow I just got rid of that. That's always fun. Let's try it again. Apologize, I'm a little disorganized this morning. So maybe we're doing something like that. Okay, so we got this low, high, low. We're working on a swing high. Maybe we want to be aware of the previous one too. Sometimes I like to do that. So that would be something like this. Just like bigger picture, previous swing, just so we kind of know that we're just sort of breaking out above that high, and we just want to make sure that we're going to firmly hold. Right now it looks good, but we would like to see some price action. Personally, I'd like to see some price action, like really holding above this high here, right? This, here, I'll change the color of this so it's clearer, this purple one. And just to make sure that price is actually being accepted up on these levels, and we're not just going to reject down again, because the rejections have been sort of like the story of the past few months, really. So this is actually daily, and that's kind of what it looks like on the 8-hour. Things get a little sloppy. I don't like the way this 8-hour chart looks. Usually I like the 8-hour chart on the S&P, but the price action is just really sloppy on that right now. On the 4-hour, I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff that just makes it a little bit confusing. We had this swing low, swing high, and then we sort of came back down again. I think that's what that other channel was right there. And we're just sort of now coming back down and then starting to make a new high. And so if this high really holds, then we would basically call this our next relevant structure, would be something like this. Okay, this is just how I map the market, and it gives me, this is what works for my brain, right? This is what works for my brain, just to help me to have an idea of what the auction process is doing throughout, you know, the month, week, day, etc. And I like to know these relevant swings, because if we're inside them, like for a while, we were just inside of this teal range. And as long as we're inside of that, you know, we can expect some up and down. Now that we're breaking above, you know, hopefully we start to get a little bit more of a trend. I'd love to see like a real trend day. We haven't had a real trend day in a while. We've had days that have trends within them, but it's been a lot of like the morning is trending up and then the afternoon is trending down, or you know, it's been like stuff like that. I'd love to see a day that just gives us like a nice bullish trend from start to finish. That would be kind of refreshing at this point, because this market has been so choppy, so choppy. Not a bad problem for scalping, but you know, I've been kind of avoiding doing any sort of swing trading, because you know, you wake up one morning and the market's doing the opposite of what it was doing the day before. So that's kind of what I'm looking at now. So basically, you know, we've got this swing. I guess let's put this here. So we kind of had this low that came up to this high, and then we retraced back down. This kind of formed our new low. I would call this a structural low because it broke the high. Okay, that's always what I look for. The low broke the high. So we know now that we can call that a structural low, and we have a high forming just based on the shift of control, based on our control candles, which is, it's a really simple concept. And now what we want to see, ideally we hold above this teal line. Ideally, you know, price comes down here, maybe we get a little test. This is about 42.50 or so, 42.48. Ideally, we kind of stay up here today, but it's possible that we do retrace more. This end of day push here, man, this thing was crazy. This all happened at the very end of the day. And look at this on a 1-minute chart. On a 1-minute chart from, you know, basically 3:30 in the afternoon Eastern yesterday to the close, we moved let's see, 27 all the way up to 48. So we moved basically 20 points with almost no pullback on the 1 minute chart. I mean, that is really aggressive buying, really aggressive buying. So it's very possible that we retrace some of that, because when you see buying that's that aggressive, a lot of times there is a lot of imbalance. The buyers are so aggressive that anybody who is maybe not as aggressive of a buyer, who's trying to buy on a limit order, is probably not going to get a fill, right? And they might still be waiting. They might still be saying, hey, like this looks good, but I want to buy down here. Why might they buy down here? Well, again, going back out to, let's just take a look at, here, let's do like a 30-minute chart, okay? We've talked a lot about this sort of sideways action, and how even though we've been building a lot of price action up here, that value has remained somewhat unchanged. And what I mean by that is, I love this fixed range profile tool, right? So if we just take the profile, this is the first time that we've seen, this thing really, like we just barely brought the value area up. For so long, it was kind of down here. But even this came up here, like it's been relatively unchanged since last Tuesday. Like if we just capture this stuff right here, right? Look at our value area. Our value area, and we pointed this out yesterday, it's the highlighted, whoops. It's the highlighted area on the profile. It's my incredibly not straight line, but just to give you an idea, has been there, okay? And it's been there since like last Tuesday. So this was Monday, Friday, whoops, that's not what I want to do. How many times am I gonna make the same mistake? Okay, so it's Monday, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. So end of day Tuesday. See where value is here? Like it's slightly lower. The top of the value is slightly lower. Look where the point of control is. So see this teal dotted line there, right? Kind of where my cursor is. It's a little bit hard to see. I'll make it a little bit more bold so we can see it. I drew that there because that was the point of control that was established from last Tuesday as this range was developing. And even though we've built all this price action started to build up here towards the end of the week, right? Things were looking more bullish, but value was almost entirely unchanged, right? What that tells us is that while price may have been up here, the most volume, the most contracts traded still remain down here. This is still our strong level. And yesterday's analysis, I talked about how we probed up high in the morning, but that our value is still down here, our point of control is still down here, and it would not be an absurd idea for us to return to that. And sure enough, that's what happened yesterday. We pulled back. We created a little rotation, right? A little coiling around the point of control as even more contracts were accumulated there, right? And I'd make the argument that probably a lot of money transacted there as, we price action sort of built and institutions wanted to get ready to rumble, okay? So this is the key level where we can say that institutional money was put in, right? It was like right around this like 42.27, 42.28, something around there, right? We don't have to be to the penny. And if we look then, even as the close of yesterday and the overnight action, has that changed? Nah, like not really at all, okay? So we're still right there. So value area hasn't changed, point of control hasn't changed. So the price action, if we're just looking at price, this looks very bullish. But until we start to move value, then we can't really go in like totally head first, right? I closed out all my hedges. I did add some to my long-term positions because I do think this starts to look good for long-term, but from a short to intermediate term, like definitely wasn't going to jump in and go like heavy on short-term trades on the end of this because not a lot of volume was transacted through here. This got up here right at the close. The price action up here is great, but it's in the overnight, so not a lot of volume, right? Not a lot of transactions. The interest is still down here. And when you see these big candles, right, it's like what we'd call a single print candle. There's no overlap with the preceding candle and the one that follows. That represents a lot of imbalance between buyers and sellers. So very aggressive buying, right? Often means some people are getting left behind. And when we see that, we will often see retracement into those areas, right? That's what we want to be of. Are we going to retrace into this area? That's what we want to be aware of. We already came back. We retraced into where there was value here. That's where I just missed my order, right? Or was it this one? One of them, right? This is a 30-minute chart. I was looking at like a 5-minute before. So now we want to say, if we're going to retrace, where might we retrace to? Again, this is one level that I'm interested in, this 42, whatever it is, 42.40, okay? That's one level that I'm very interested in, just for a quick scalp. I wouldn't look for anything like incredibly major there, but just for a quick scalp, put my stop maybe under all of this stuff, right? So if we looked at this, and just, maybe we did something like this as a supply and demand area, and we put our stop underneath that, maybe just go for like a 1-to-1. So we'd have, let's see, 42.40 down to 37. So about a 3-point or 3.5-point stop and like a 3.5-point target, just a quick scalp. Depending on how that plays out, that's one possibility, okay? That's one level that we might look at. And anytime we see price blast through a resistance zone, we definitely look for it to be tested from the top. That's definitely something we want to look at. The other thing that I want to look at is just, again, is there anywhere else in here that we might expect price to return to? So there's a couple things we can do to see if there are any important levels that we might want to be interested in. One is, this was that rotation, from yesterday. We trended down in the morning, and then we just created this little rotation here. So one thing I'll do is I'll just put a little profile there, and that lines up pretty much as expected, right with the point of control. Like I said, that's where I think institutions, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, like why did this come back here? Why didn't we just rally up Friday? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. My theory, I don't know for sure, but it's my theory. So this could be a level that we're interested in, right? If price returns here, I think a lot of institutional money changed hands here, and then the institutions started buying aggressively and pushing price up, right? This is how price moves, by the way. If you don't have a full understanding, price moves not just because there's more buyers than sellers, but because there are aggressive buyers, and that means buyers hitting the market button, right? So limit orders aren't going to move the price. Market orders are going to move the price. And so usually when you see this, we have accumulation of positions by institutions, probably with limit orders, right? All within this area. And then once that's done, they start hitting the market buy to push price up, right? Get other retail participants to jump in, and then they can start cashing out of positions if they want to cash out here. Now, I think these are probably longer term positions, because what we had here was our short-term auction was down, right? Our short-term auction was down throughout the morning yesterday. That's very easy to see. It's a nice trend down. But we have to be aware of the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is this big longer-term auction, this sideways price action right here. And as price returned to that main sort of area of interest for that longer-term auction, these short-term sellers can easily get overwhelmed by the long-term buyers. So this is long-term buying, in my opinion. That's the way I perceive that, okay? Because it came right down into, if we were to zoom out, again, take this on a 30-minute or something, 30-minute, 1 hour, the time frame doesn't matter as long as you can see the size of this zone that was kind of, well, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days now. So if price does return here, I would expect that institutional money that bought here to defend those positions. That's what I would expect. And why did a lot of money come in here? Well, Friday we had a really nice close, right? We had some record closes at the end of the week, but it was the end of the week. And this is a very news-driven market right now. And especially with how many times price has already been rejected from highs, if I put myself in the mind of one of those institutional buyers, maybe I'm not super confident buying at the highs, right? Buying at the highs. If we look at this auction, right? If they were buying up here at the end of the day, Friday, they're buying at a level that most people throughout the past 7 days have said, hey, that's too high, and aggressive sellers have stepped in. And we saw that happen in the overnight Monday night, the pre-market Monday, I should say, overnight from Sunday to Monday. So I think that that's what happened, right? As then those institutional buyers that maybe had interest on Thursday and Friday, when Monday hit and they saw there was no dramatic news, like nothing crazy happened during the G7, nothing crazy new with coronavirus, they say, okay, this looks good. Price action's holding up here. We are building some value up here. So maybe we're ready to rally. Let's bring price down, build up the rest of our inventory that we've been kind of waiting to get confirmation on. Let's build the rest of our inventory up, and then let's aggressively push price up. And this is the first time you can see that we've aggressively pushed price up and not immediately rejected down. So I think if price does return here, I don't know that it's going to come all the way down here, but if it does, I'd be willing to bet that those institutions will be defending those positions. And the only thing that I think would affect that is if there is some news that comes out that changes market sentiment or changes their opinion, or if there's something bigger that, there's some even longer term, sellers that are going like, hey, look how extended this market is, like on the monthly, and the sellers push it down. Okay, so that's why I think we saw this pullback down, this loading up of positions, this loading up of inventory, and then this aggressive buying to push price up at the end of the day and get the retail buyers to jump in and everybody to go long for hopeful continuation. And now what we're seeing is just, again, lack of volume in the pre-market. And so where are we going to retrace down to before we start to push price back up? Again, this is one option. Let's look and see if there's any other options. So what I like to do is say, hey, okay, we've already retraced a lot of this stuff. So let's bring our profile over and just grab the rally, okay? Let's just grab the rally. So we've got this level, and that's where we're holding right now. I think this level's done, okay? I'm not gonna trade off this level anymore. And so where else? We've got our level, here. I don't see really anything else in here. This is all your aggressive buying. So I don't really see anything else in here that would make price want to pause. I just don't see it. And so I think if we break down below this one, if we even retrace this far, I mean, this level that we're kind of sitting on right now, this might hold. This might hold. This entry that I missed by one tick, that might hold. But if not, then I think this is a level of interest. If this doesn't hold, then the only other place I could see us coming down is retesting this. But I think we've done enough of that, right? Like, I think we've done enough of that. I'd really like to see price not come down. I'd really like to see us open up, have a strong opening balance, and then maybe get some single prints and really kind of have a nice bullish trending day. I think we deserve it, to be honest with you. I think we've earned it. It's been a really annoying, I think just like a boring and annoying kind of few weeks or months. And I think we're ready to move on. But who knows, we're approaching summer. Who knows? So that's kind of where we're at. That's what I'm looking at for today. Again, like I guess I'll put this back in here just so we have it as a reference point. But again, I'm not going to trade off this level here at about 42, 45, 50. I think this level has already, the reactions have taken place. And maybe this holds and at the market open, we push, or maybe we probe it a little bit and just test this and then we push. So, something that I would do. And again, this is my paper account. So this is not live that I'm doing this right now. This is not real money, although I might take it on my live account. Is we do something like this and, I should get as close to where we want to be. Something like that, right? Something like that would be a good little scalp. If there is resistance from this bottom here, this would get us out basically right there. But that would be something, that I would look for as a scalp, right? About 3.5 points of risk, about 3.5 points profit. You can go for more profit if you want to. I've been this week just to kind of get my head screwed on back straight because I had a little bit of I wasn't proud of my trading towards the end of the last week. I've just been going for one-to-one risk reward this week and just focusing on making sure that my analysis is better than a coin toss, right? So if you're doing one-to-one risk reward, all you got to do is hit more than 50%. And that's all I'm focusing on. By the way, I mentioned this yesterday. I think that's, in my opinion, the best risk reward for new traders, to just focus on that, because then you can just focus on making sure that your analysis is better than a coin toss. Because if you go for a bigger reward to risk, like a very positive reward to risk, you might have a lower strike rate, and that can be frustrating for new traders where you start to doubt your strategy. And if you go for a negative reward to risk, while that does work for people that have good technical analysis and can hit a high strike rate, the problem for new traders is that you can have a really good day and get a bunch of wins, and then the next day, sometimes depending on what your risk to reward is, one loss can negate your last, 2, 3, 4 winners. And again, that's a hard pill to swallow, I think, when you're a novice trader and you haven't had enough experience under your belt to fully trust your system, because that's so much of trading is a mental game, and you have to trust your system. So this is basically the one level that I have as a level of interest. And then I guess 2 levels, we call it. We've got that 42.40 and that 42.2875 as levels of interest for the day. And then as price action develops, we can start building other levels of interest as we see the market structure develop. And if we do have a trend day, we can buy pullbacks on that. So that's what we're looking at. And hope you guys have a great trading day today. I think it should be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to seeing how the auction develops. And as always, if you want to join us, you can visit dpmtrades.com and you can join our free community on Discord. And it's a great way to learn and ask questions without having to pay for a monthly membership that you may or may not actually find beneficial. I think it's important to find your own style and find a style that works for you. And maybe my style works for you, maybe it doesn't, but at least you can just come hang out with us for free. And I think it's just nice to have community around you as a trader. I think that's very important. A lot of these successful prop firms and successful institutions, people aren't trading as lone rangers. They are trading as part of a group, right? They're bouncing ideas off each other, and they're helping each other through the hard times when maybe we're not feeling so great about our performance. So, yeah, rock on. Market's going to open in 8 minutes. I'm going to sign off, and we'll check in with you guys later on.